Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
The nation, Waldorf Nation. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the show. All right, so we're here. We got a good show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, including what's going on in Florida. Not good things as usual. We're going to talk about it. So we actually have two stories in one when it comes to Florida. As they are getting ready to do the Don't Say Gay bill, to enact it, teachers are, well, they're not happy about it. And I've got the details of that, as well as some of the new civics lessons happening in Florida. So, again, teachers pushing back, so that's good. But the details of what they're doing in Florida to indoctrinate students is just, I mean, it's terrifying. So we're definitely going to dive into that story. We also, of course, have Alabama doing Alabama things, which, again, not good. We have Cassidy Hutchinson. It appears that the right wing thinks that they have debunked her testimony. We're going to look at that. We're going to examine that and what's going on there, specifically, of course, about the driver, that incident. We're going to talk about that. We'll dive in. We'll see whether or not they might actually be correct, or again, or not. So we've got that. We have Mick Mulvaney. We'll talk about him as well, his reaction to these hearings. But first, we're going to start out with right-wingers being incredibly honest about who they really are. So, with that, why don't we dive in? Yeah.
We are the Christian Taliban. This is the era of Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism is on the rise, and people are thirsty for it. They are hungry for this. And we are the Christian Taliban. And we will not stop until The Handmaid's Tale is a reality. And even worse than that.
That was white nationalist Vincent James telling you exactly who he is and what his agenda is all about. What the far right agenda is really is. And so, look, this is not, of course, about freedom. It's not about life. It's not about small d democratic values, whether or not you're conservative, whether or not you're more on the progressive side. That's not what he stands for. He stands for Christian right-wing fundamentalist theocratic fascist rule. That's who this guy is. And so, again, this isn't about self-governance. It's not about equal protection under the law. It's not about any of that. It is about trying to control other people. And look, that's who they are. And I'm going to show you another video here. He's going to continue by telling you what he has in store.
Yes, we do have to start rolling back. There was this article from The Atlantic where it's like, well, Alito is on a mission to roll back the rights of women, to roll back the past 100 years of rights that were given to women. Yes, that is what we're doing. And it's only going to get worse for you from here.
It's only going to get worse for you from here. Look, when someone tells you who they are, you should believe them. You might think that this guy is a minority of the right-wing movement. Well, I mean, it would be true if you say that he is a minority of the country. He is absolutely a minority of the country, but guess what? These people are in power. People who think just like him are in power all over the country. All over the country. And so that's disturbing, disgusting, and absolutely horrifying. Again, they're telling you exactly who they are and what they're going to do. Anybody who's surprised by fascism, by this kind of rhetoric, shouldn't be. Now, look, if you're a woman and you're on the side of the far right, you're basically telling everyone, that guy, I agree with him. I don't want rights. I want to be a second-class citizen. Hey, look, if you want to be a traditional wife, if you want to do traditional gender roles, if you want to stay home and have lots of babies and make dinner for your husband every night, I don't give a damn. You can do whatever you want. That's called freedom, right? And conversely, somebody who doesn't want to do that can do the opposite. That is your choice. Again, it's America's freedom, right? But this guy wants to take away that choice from you. And I have a real problem with that, okay? Taking away choice from other people. Understand, this is what the far right wants to do. Instead of living the life that he wants to do, which he has the freedom to do so, as long as it's not hurting anyone else, and finding a woman who would like to be his personal slave. I mean, good luck on that. That doesn't seem to be a very popular position with the ladies, at least most of them. I mean, look, I remember reading an article about alt-right women being shocked that there was misogyny on the far right. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe there's so much misogyny here. Really? Yes, I can't believe the people who want to take away the rights to bodily autonomy would treat women like a second-class citizen. Weird. I never saw that one coming, huh? I can't believe the leopards eating people's faces party would actually allow leopards to eat my face. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the women who went over to, to be ISIS brides. Being shocked, being surprised that they would be treated like second-class citizen breeding stock. No, really, they told you exactly who they are. You know who they are. You know what they stand for. Why would you at all choose to be there? But look, this guy, again, when you look at him, these white nationalists, the far right, they're basically incels, is what it is. Women will not date them for their conservative beliefs because, they have horrible views. And so what they want to do, since they can't get a mate, a girlfriend, or what have you, on the merits of who they are, then what they want to do is actually try to use state power to take away all of women's rights. So they finally get a woman that can't escape. It's basically them trying to trap women in relationships of which they cannot afford to escape, whether it be because they're bound to them by children or they can't own a bank account, which again, they couldn't get their own account or like a credit account until like the 1970s. 1976. I mean, that's incredibly recent. That women were not able to even control their own finances. That's the tools like that guy use to entrap women into relationships where they bring absolutely nothing to the table. And they don't. Hey, if you actually want to, and again, I hate phrasing it like this because it's not a win or lose, whatever. You don't win a woman, right? But if you actually want to have a meaningful relationship, you might want to actually bring something to the table other than just bullshit misogyny. You might want to bring a good personality to the table, or good parental skills. Oh, but then that would just mean that you're a beta cuck, according to these, right-wingers. I mean, again, that's who these people are. And what they want is white men in charge, white Christian men specifically, okay? And to have women that are subservient to them, barefoot and pregnant, with Christianity, the church, their specific denomination, running it all. And that is exactly what they have in store for you and all of us if we let them have power. So let's not let them have power. All right. All right. Following the passage of the Don't Say Gay law, right-wingers claimed that the left were overreacting. Oh, it doesn't actually ban saying gay people. You can still say gay all you want. Oh, no, it just prevents teachers from grooming children. That's what it is, and confusing them about gender identity. Well, it turns out the left was not overreacting, and that Don't Say Gay means exactly what we said it meant. That they were erasing gay people and anything else that is LGBTQIA+ in schools. Look, this is according to a recent article by the New Civil Rights Movement. Apparently, teachers in Orange County, Florida, are being told to take down photos of their families if, and this is from their desks, if they have a same-sex spouse only. So now, I remember teachers' desks when I was going to school, and they would have pictures, oftentimes, of their kids or their significant others. Now, in Florida, you can still do that, but only if it's of a straight couple. If it is not of a straight couple, then you must remove it. That seems to be a little bit of indoctrination, isn't it? I mean, you could definitely argue that. But when it comes to, again, same-sex couples, can't have your pictures up. No. Can't have your family. You might confuse the poor children. No. That's not it at all. Those kids aren't confused. It's the adults that are incredibly hateful. All right, there's more. They're also been told to scrape rainbow stickers off their doors and their windows, and are being directed to report if a student comes out as LGBTQ in preparation for the law that is going into effect on July 1st. In fact, attorneys for the district held meetings with administrators last week and advised principals what behaviors would and would not be legal under the new law during a Camp Legal presentation. ABC affiliate WFTV reports. The Orange County Teachers Association, the CTA, says teachers are also being told that they cannot wear rainbows on their clothing. So again, we have censorship here, including the lanyards distributed by the district last year because, for some reason, a rainbow lanyard is somehow, bad. I don't know how. And again, elementary schools, school teachers are also being told to not even discuss their families only if they have a same-sex spouse. You can discuss your family all you want if you're a straight couple. If you're in a, heterosexual relationship, you're cishet, totally fine. Discuss it all you want. But gay, no, can't do that. Not allowed. That would be propaganda. That would be grooming. I mean, again, this is ridiculous. There's more. Stickers denoting a particular classroom being a safe space for LGBTQ students and others are also to be removed. Basically saying, sorry, this place is not safe for you. In fact, in Florida, what they want to do, and again, I'll argue a lot of these conservative states, they want to say that no place is safe for you. None. In fact, you're in danger. If you're an LGBTQIA+ person in any of these places, you are in danger. You have no safe space. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Teachers, again, will also have to report to parents if a student comes out to them, and they must use pronouns assigned at birth regardless of what the parents allow, the CTA reported. Now, wait a minute. I thought conservatives who were supported this said that, oh, no, we're just giving, knowledge to the parents, and we're making sure the parents have choices. That's all that we're doing. We're giving the power back to the parents, you see. Well, what if the parent wants their trans child to be called by the pronouns that they choose and the name that they choose? Oh, then the school is suddenly like, under DeSantis, oh, no, we don't actually care what the parents want. No. We only care what's politically correct, and that what Ron DeSantis wants. And he believes that your child who identifies as a female but was born a biological male is a male. And so we're going to misgender that child. We're going to dead name that child, and we are going to shame that child because, you know, we believe in freedom and parental choice, unless it's a choice that we don't agree with. Oops. Once again, it's very, very clear this is nothing more than a way to try to erase gay and transgender people. That's it. They want to erase them. They want to eliminate them. They want to, you know, forcefully shove them back into the closet, even though we know that that is harmful to children. And actually, especially, they want to do it especially knowing that it harms children, because again, the harm and the cruelty is the literal point. They want to be cruel. They revel in the cruelty. They enjoy it. Look, they hate gay people, they hate trans people, and this is not hyperbole when I say that they want these people dead. They want them to not exist at all, to wipe them off the face of the earth. That is what the far right wants. It is not what the majority of this country wants. The majority of this country is absolutely fine with gay people because they know, again, that it's not their business what people do, who they love, and that it doesn't harm anyone else. The majority of Americans, I believe, are coming around on trans issues as well. Although there's still a lot of misinformation about this. But the far right is clinging to a very small but loud and powerful base of people that want trans and gay people dead. They want to roll back all the rights that they have secured and to put them back to the past, to make them disappear. Because, you know, that makes them feel good. Look, if you're, you know, not white, if you're not straight, and if you're not a Christian, then these people want nothing to do with you. Unless you happen to be a useful tool, a sucker, an idiot, like Dave Rubin. That's what they want. So now, and the reason that they like people like Dave Rubin is because Dave Rubin, you can pay him to punch left. You can pay him to punch gay people. You can pay him to sit there and endure insult after insult, where your friend Ben Shapiro tells you, oh, I won't actually even come to your wedding. I won't bake you a cake. I won't buy you a cake. I won't come, come to any of your functions, but I'm your friend. No, you're not your friend. He's not your friend at all. He hates you. He hates you and only sees you as a useful tool. And guess what? You know this. And you say, you know what? I'd rather have money. I'd rather have money. Well, I hope it's worth it. I really do. Yeah, I hear that house is nice. Then again, if the right wing has their way, they'll probably burn down your house one of these days, or try. That's where this is going. Violence. Unfortunately. So now, that said, let's get back to the school here. A lot of teachers are not happy about this, and that's good. They should push back. Here you have CTA President-elect Clinton McCracken telling WFTV that he basically disagrees with the extremeness of the law. He says, look, it will be alarming if our district chooses to interpret the law in the most extreme way. We want them to protect student privacy. We want them to make sure that they're creating and helping create safe classrooms. We do believe our school board supports that. Okay, I hope you're right. But still, this law, not a good law. And knowing the far right, they will try to take it to its extremes. So now, speaking of changes to education and getting some pushback from the teachers, there's a related story here. Again, Florida has also rolled out a civics initiative. Now, this civics initiative was, of course, designed to to prepare students to be what they consider to be virtuous citizens. What does that actually mean? We'll dive into it. Now, teachers who spoke to the Herald/Times say that while they don't object to the state's new standards for civics, they do take issue with how the state wants them taught. And they're specifically pointing out how they're framing the lessons. Barbara Segal, a 12th grade government teacher at Fort Lauderdale High School, said this about the lessons, quote, "It's very skewed. There was a very strong Christian fundamentalist way toward analyzing different quotes and different documents. That was concerning." One example is when Traynor told Broward teachers that the nation's founders did not desire a strict separation of church and state, and had downplayed the role of the colonies and later the United States had in the history of slavery in America, and pushed judicial theory favored by legal conservatives like Ron DeSantis that requires people to interpret the Constitution as the framers intended it, not as a living, evolving document, according to 3 educators who attended the training. So now, that's interesting. The first part where they talked about, the founders didn't actually desire a strict separation of church and state. Really? I mean, it's literally in there in a letter where, thou shalt not, we shall not establish a religion. It's the Establishment Clause in the Constitution, meaning we shouldn't establish a state religion. That means a separation of church and state. Furthermore, expanded in a letter where they had said that, hey, we are not a Christian government. We're not a Christian nation. That's it. We're just not. So now, the other things, of course, are also very, very disturbing. Now, here's another teacher. This is Richard Judd, a 50-year-old Nova High School social studies teacher with 22 years of experience, who attended this state-led training session last week. Quote, "It is disturbing, really, that through these workshops and through legislation, there's an attempt to both censor and to drive or propagandize particular points of view." Oh, they wouldn't do that, would they? No, of course not. One slide, as an example, underscored that founders expected religion to be promoted because they believed it to be essential to civic virtue. Without virtue, another slide noted, citizens become licentious and become subject to tyranny. So now, wait a minute. So in order to avoid tyranny, you have to literally give yourself to religion and God. But that sounds like tyranny. Especially if you enforce religion, that is tyranny. I don't think they quite understand how that works. Another slide highlights 3 U.S. Supreme Court cases to show them when the founders' original intent began to change. That included the 1962 landmark case that found school-sponsored prayer, there's a theme here, violated the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, which Judd said that trainers viewed as unjust. So they have this perspective that I can't believe they would get prayer out of the schools. Unjust. Prayer belongs in the schools. No, it doesn't. Again, if you want to pray to yourself in the school, then you're allowed to do so. But a teacher or a principal shouldn't, in theory, be allowed to lead a school prayer. Now, unfortunately, you have the Supreme Court coming out and saying that, oh no, a football coach can lead a prayer for his students. Now, what do you think kind of effect that's going to have? If you're on the team and you're not a religious person, what are you going to do? You're going to be basically enticed to come and join the prayer so that you don't get ostracized from the team. So that creates a very big pressure situation where you have to, or feel like you have to, join in to a religion that you might not believe in. And so that's a big problem here. And again, the same people who want this for Christianity are the same people who would flip out if there were a Muslim coach that was leading a prayer to Allah. So that's a problem. Okay, there's more. Let's see. Several presentation slides also emphasized that it was a misconception that the founders desired a strict separation of church and state, and that they only wanted to protect freedom of worship. Now, we do have a freedom of, worship, to, worship whatever God we want to, but we also have the freedom to not worship at all. That's religious freedom. But now they've seemed to have interpreted it, the far right has, as no, only my religion has freedom. No one else has freedom, just me. That's my freedom, not yours. Right. Sure. And during breakout sessions, the state's presenters also repeatedly mentioned the influence that Jesus Christ and the Bible have in the country's foundation. Yes, because that's literally why it's in the Constitution. Oh, wait, no, it's not. There was, Judd said this, there was this Christian nationalism philosophy that was just baked into everything that was there. As if, the examples were not clear enough that was exactly what they were trying to do. To jam Christian fundamentalism into everything for these teachers to then pass on to their children and teach them through this particular right-wing Christian framing. That's obviously wrong. That is not a separation. That is promoting a specific religion. So now, again, to me, it's obvious what they're doing. Okay? I know what they're doing. They are pushing their own religion, but also are doing political correctness. Because, again, Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida. There's a right-wing government, and they're pushing this political correctness. Because, again, what they're doing is they're taking history, and they're saying, ooh, okay, we're going to push this perspective, this framing, and then we're going to kind of leave other things out that are contradictory to this framing. And what we're trying to do is we're going to make it politically correct for you to teach it in this specific way. As opposed to the wokest agenda, they say, which is politically incorrect, which would also be factually correct. Because really wokeness is just something that they just don't like. That's the definition of wokeness, is whatever we don't like. So now, what the teachers also said was worse than just what was the framing here, was the inability to debate or question how these topics were presented. That you were only supposed to teach in this specific way, this specific framing. When a question was asked, one person said, the facilitator would deflect on it or say they returned to the discussion and then later would not. Again, you want to talk about indoctrination, you want to talk about propaganda. I mean, this is it. This is very, very clearly it. Judd also said that the state delivered the instruction in a way that made it seem as though Christianity was the only viewpoint that the founding fathers had in mind for the country. Well, I got news for you. The founding fathers are dead, for one. And so we don't actually have to follow everything that they say. Plus, they created the Constitution in a way that allowed you to change it. you know, if they didn't, we wouldn't have the amendments that we have. Because that's literally changing the Constitution. Okay. But I think you get it. Overall, what the goal here is to have education that is pro, not just pro, right? But that is specifically only white, Christian, and promotes theocratic rule. No gay people, no trans people, none of that. All we want, and this is a right wing saying, all we want is white wing Christian nationalism promoted by the government, and people, you know, and to force people to do it, to believe in it. All right. How about coverage in the 51 dead in Texas? Abex, let me look into it. I got you guys. I just didn't know that it was going on. So, let me look into it. And I'll see about doing a report on that. 51 women, children, and men. All right. That said, let's go into the next story here. Republicans in Alabama are using the recent decision on Roe v. Wade, overturning it, to now argue against transgender healthcare. What those things have to do with each other, I don't know. Now, Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall on Tuesday has urged a federal court to drop a block on the state's ban on gender-affirming care for trans youth, and is now claiming that the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on overturning Roe v. Wade is the grounds to lift that block, so that we can, in Alabama, we can ban transgender-affirming healthcare. Now, the law that is being blocked currently would make it a felony for any person to engage in or cause specific types of medical care for transgender youth. Doctors would be open to criminal prosecution, as well as parents, guardians, and anyone else who attempts to provide care to a minor. Anyone who violates the law, which was enacted in April of this year and blocked in May, could face up to 10 years in prison and a fine of up to $15,000. Marshall argues that since it is not explicitly mentioned in the Constitution, you know, when they didn't really know about transgender health care, or that wasn't really apparently a big issue for them. If it's not in the Constitution, if it's not explicitly spelled out, then, I guess it's not a right, and I guess you're not protected, which means we can literally ban you from getting affirming health care that could save your life. Pro-life people. Look, here's the thing. So, you can't get gender-affirming healthcare if you're a trans person. That is, in their mind, not protected. But if you're a cis person, if you're cisgender, then you can still get gender-affirming care. In fact, cis people get gender-affirming care all the time. It's just not generally considered to be special. And let me explain what that means. Gender-affirming care basically encompasses a very wide range of different things. There's social affirmation, which includes people using your chosen name. Okay? So, for example, that's why people aren't calling me Jenny, right? Because that's not my chosen name. Okay, using your chosen name. Okay. Your pronouns. Also, being allowed to wear what you want to wear. You know, if you want to wear pants, if you want to wear a kilt, totally fine. whatever hairstyle you choose or no hair at all, that's fine. All that is, again, affirming. It's just social affirmation. That's it. And again, it's not really considered to be social affirmation for cishet people because it's just generally, there's no dysphoria there. And so it's just considered to be, well, you know, valid, normal. But when it comes to trans people, they also require that validation. They also require that acceptance. That is part of gender affirming care. So now, again, there's also other things involved in gender affirming care than just social, but mainly social is what's used for children, okay? Because there's this conflation here between gender affirming care and getting surgeries. And so understand that's what the right wing is focused on, just the surgery things, they call it the mutilation and all that stuff. Again, children are not getting these surgeries. The things that they are getting are either puberty blockers up to a certain age. 14 is the latest that they are usually prescribed. And so you only stay on those for a couple of years until you decide if you're going to go through with your transition, and then begin hormone replacement therapy, HRT, which is completely reversible, by the way. You know it's not reversible? Puberty. Now, it makes certain changes, especially for trans girls, that are very, very difficult to deal with mentally and emotionally. That's why puberty blockers are part of gender affirming care. And again, there are also, this is not a new thing. Puberty blockers are not new. They've actually been used for a long time and been used to treat certain conditions among cisgender girls as well. And so we know that these drugs are generally pretty safe to use. And so there's that. And again, legal affirmation as well, changing your name, etc. It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay? So now, that said, cisgender people are constantly doing things that affirm our identity, that make us feel better, comfortable, supported in our gender. And again, it's not really considered to be something special. But trans people, what they're looking for is validation. What they're looking for is access to timely health care that respects their self-determination, autonomy, and as well as the medical necessity of that affirmation. That's it. That's the trans agenda right there. That's it. And look, it saves lives. That's it. It saves lives. Gender affirming care has been proven to cut down on suicidal ideation in the trans community. That's a fact. Those are facts. What is also a fact is that if you ban gender affirming care, in all cases, you're going to drive up suicidal ideation among transgender youth. But understand, that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they want. Because again, the cruelty is the point. They want to literally wipe out all transgender people. So now Marshall is going after that care, using the same flawed justification they used to overturn Roe, that it's not explicitly spelled out in the Constitution, and therefore, it's not a protected right. Oh, I'm sure we could find other things that maybe affect, I don't know, other people, right-wingers, that aren't explicitly spelled out in the Constitution. But then, of course, they would argue, well, that's not what that means. That's not what that means. Don't touch me at all. No, I can only go after you and other people. But don't you dare come after me. Now, look, abortion, Roe v. Wade, was protected under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. It guarantees a right to privacy. There are several other constitutional rights that are also currently protected under that same way. Those include same-sex relationships, Obergefell, marriage equality, and access to contraceptives. So there's other court cases that after this was overturned, Clarence Thomas has said we need to look at those as well. Marshall then wrote in a court document, no one, adult or child, has a right to transitioning treatments that is deeply rooted in our nation's history and tradition. The state can thus regulate or prohibit those interventions for children, even if an adult wants the drugs for his child. Well, what about what the child wants? Apparently, you don't care about that. Now, before you say, well, no, wait a minute, they can't make that decision, right? You're the same people that are like, oh, you know what? We shouldn't have kids wear masks, and we shouldn't have kids have vaccines. Right. Sure. But, when they say, well, I want the ability, the freedom to be able to choose what is right for my child who is going through gender dysphoria. Alabama says, no, you don't have that freedom. But you have the freedom not to vaccinate them against an illness. Right. So now, he furthermore writes, just as a parental relationship does not unlock a due process right allowing parents to obtain medical marijuana or abortions for their children. Weird how they threw that in there, by the way. Neither does it unlock a right to transitioning treatments. The Constitution reserves to the state, not courts of medical interest groups, the authority to determine the sterilizing interventions are too dangerous for minors. Now remember, hormone therapy is not sterilizing. Puberty blockers are not sterilizing. Cis girls who've taken puberty blockers to treat conditions have reported later on in life that they were able to become pregnant and carry healthy pregnancies all the way to term. So again, it's a lie to say that these things are castrating, sterilizing, right? And once again, I do have to point out that the surgical options are not used and utilized until they're adults. Again, they're absolutely wrong. But you know who's right? The medical organizations, which are backing up gender-affirming care, like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychological Association, and the American Medical Association. But of course, you try to tell right-wingers, and they're like, well, we don't actually believe in science. Wait, your whole argument against transgender people is that we believe in science. But you don't actually believe in science. Because here's what the scientists are saying. They don't care about facts. They will twist the facts in order to fit their own incredibly hateful narrative. Look, they say that banning this care, and this is the all these organizations, could have a detrimental effect on the mental health of transgender youth. Over 2/3 of LGBTQ youth said recent debates over state laws that target them have negatively impacted their mental health. This is according to a poll by the Trevor Project. Well, of course it does. Trying to deny them rights and to deny them their identity, who they are, of course that's going to be mentally taxing. Not only that, but also these old politicians are painting targets in the backs of children. They're opening up children to being attacked by their classmates and by other adults for who they are, simply being who they are. They're putting these children in danger. But do they care? No, of course not. They want to claim that they care about the children. They only care about certain kinds of children. And that's white, straight, Christian children. Everyone else in their mind can burn. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. All right. Moving on. Let's go to the Hutchinson story. Tuesday's bombshell testimony from former Mark Meadows aide Cassidy Hutchinson is apparently being questioned. This is according to a reporter citing sources close to the Secret Service. So this is mainstream media that's reporting this. Now, before we get into that, I'm going to give you the context here and remind you what Hutchinson testified about. This was a conversation that she had, allegedly, with Trump Deputy Chief of Staff Tony Ornato and Robert Engel, who ran Trump's Secret Service detail. So again, the point in question here is a story where about the limo driver and how Trump had attempted to take the wheel. It was a take the wheel Jesus moment. Let me go to her to explain.
When I returned to the White House, I walked upstairs towards the Chief of Staff's office, and I noticed Mr. Ornato lingering outside of the office. Once we had made eye contact, he quickly waved me to go into his office, which was just across the hall from mine. When I went in, he shut the door, and I noticed Bobby Engel, who is the head of Mr. Trump's security detail, sitting in a chair, just looking somewhat discombobulated and a little lost. I looked at Tony, and he had said, "Did you effing hear what happened in the Beast?" Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, "We're not, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing," the president had a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
All right, so now, look, that testimony sounds incredibly damning towards the former president. Because it does show how, if it's true, how furious he was to not be going to the Capitol to join the rioters that he knew, according to her testimony, wanted to bring weapons and were going to threaten his vice president. Again, he's not happy. He was not happy with his vice president at the time for not trying to steal the election for him. And secondly, of course, that it would show that he would be unhinged enough to put his hands on a Secret Service agent through as a result of anger. That said, is it true? Let's get into it. So ABC and NBC are now reporting that while the Secret Service has not openly responded to it, that the two people in question, Engel and Ornato, might do so. A source at the Secret Service tells me that both Bobby Engel and the lead agent, the presidential limousine SUV driver, are prepared to testify under oath that neither man was assaulted and that Mr. Trump never lunged for the steering wheel. This is according to NBC News chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander. Okay. Now, what's interesting about that, though, is that they already testified to the committee. So the committee already has their testimony, apparently. And so if they already had the testimony that ran counter to her, why would they put her up as a witness? I'm already seeing some holes here, some cracks in this. Okay? Some cracks in the narrative that the Secret Service is putting out. But let's go further here, okay? This is according to ABC News chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas Source close to the Secret Service, again, an unnamed source, tells ABC to expect the Secret Service to push back against any allegation of an assault against an agent or President Trump reaching for the steering wheel. This is John Santucci of ABC News reporting that. So now look, if they have a different account than what they had previously testified, then they should testify that publicly and openly in front of the committee. I mean, that's what they should do. Let's get this all out in the open then. Okay? If you're going to go on the record against what she is saying, well, then, okay. Let's see it. Let's see it. Understand the whole point of these hearings is to get to the truth, right? To get to the truth of the matter and to lay out if there is a case for the Justice Department to pursue anyone involved with January 6th, the violence, the coup attempt, and if the president's involved, to prove that he is culpable. And so, that said, look, what it looks like so far is that, yes, Trump definitely seems to be involved. To have known all about this stuff. Now, here's the thing, though. So let's go back to the witnesses, right? So now you have Ornato and Engel, who are very, very pro-Trump people, who've been described as Trump yes-men, right? That are now saying, "Oh no, we don't agree with Hutchinson. That's not what happened, and we're gonna testify under oath." Okay, again, you've already testified, so you're gonna testify again and likely change your story. And that seems a little suspicious. That said, Hutchinson is not a left-winger. Hutchinson is very right-wing. She's somebody who interned for Steve Scalise and Ted Cruz. This isn't a lefty. She was MAGA, and she so impressed Mark Meadows that he had elevated her to his go-to person. If you were in the White House and you wanted to get a message to Trump or Mark Meadows, you would have to go through her. Very, very likely. So, yeah, so much for, of course, Trump coming out and saying, "Oh, coffee girl, barely knew her, didn't know it at all. She's lying, very, very bad at her job. She wanted to come with us, and we wouldn't allow her to come with us." She was on Air Force One. She was literally in her circle. And again, that's why she was a perfect witness. That's why her testimony was important enough to the committee for them to come back from their recess for Independence Day. And look, we all know how much Congress loves their recesses, how much they love to take vacation. If this was important enough to interrupt their vacation, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. So she's a perfect witness. Therefore, since she comes out, MAGA world is furious. Furious. She's lying, she's a grifter, she's a coffee girl, that Donald Trump barely knew her. And they'll point to this and say, "Oh, look, the Secret Service. They're going to push back. See, she lied. She lied. But did she? No. Again, if you listen to her testimony, she didn't say, "I saw this happen, I was in the car." She never claimed that. She never claimed to have seen it happen. She just said that she learned about the incident from Ornato and Engel. They allegedly told her about this, that this happened. And so she's like, "Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I can't believe this is what happened. I can't believe this happened." So now, again, the person that Trump lunched at did not dispute that account so far. But we have to find out in public under oath. Let's see the other side. Let's see what they're talking about. Let's see if they're being honest. Because who knows? They could have lied to her about it, or they could have lied to the committee about it. And so we have to see what the truth is. And again, people are saying now that Engel and the driver are going to dispute that Trump had lunch for the wheel. And again, so she didn't see it firsthand. All she has is Ornato's recounting of the situation. And again, Ornato, he could come out publicly and deny it, but so far hasn't. Now, if he does, and contradicts his previous testimony to the committee, that actually makes the case worse for them, doesn't it? And it kind of shows that he's a liar, and that it actually bolsters her story. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's why Ornato is likely not going to actually testify, and I'll be very, very shocked, very surprised if he actually does, because the committee is going to have other questions. For instance, Hutchinson testified that Ornato was a person who informed Meadows that Trump supporters were attempting to enter the rally armed, and that Trump didn't care. Ornato also told Meadows that he informed Trump of this, per Hutchinson. She went on to recount that Trump had angrily demanded that armed supporters be let in, after which he directed the mob to the Capitol to intimidate the vice president into completing his coup attempt, which he did not. Ornato, as well as Engel, could also testify about whether Trump actually did want to go to the Capitol or not, and what happened then, what happened afterwards. The committee would have lots of good questions for them if they were to appear under oath, which is very likely why they're not going to appear under oath. While they will sit there from the sidelines and say, that's not what happened, not true, she's telling lies. Okay, well, come testify under oath and tell us what you think is the truth. Bring it on. Let's get to the bottom of all of this. Because right now, without their testimony under oath in public, Hutchinson is far more believable because of how close she was to the inner circle. That she had worked for Mark Meadows directly, and that she did testify under oath publicly. And so, look, my thinking is that what they're doing right now, Ornato and Engel, saying, oh yeah, we'll testify, definitely. I think it's a distraction by them. If they're saying that, yeah, of course we'd like to testify to rebut Hutchinson, but then they decide not to, for whatever reason, and they can make up a million reasons, right? Partisan witch hunt. It makes us look bad. It makes Donald Trump look bad. Well, what does that do? Well, again, it makes people who are paying attention, who are watching, think, well, these guys are not credible at all, and actually strengthens Hutchinson's case. But that's not the audience that we're trying to reach here. And unfortunately, the audience that we're trying to reach isn't all interested in hearing the facts. There's an article that I was going to talk about earlier today, where you had Fox News, Fox viewers clicking away from any mention of these January 6 hearings. If Fox News tries to air them, they get punished in viewership massively. They lose half their audience. It's gone. It's like, if I decide to play a video game in the middle of my show, half of you are going to duck out. We're not interested. Sorry. That's what's happening on Fox News. They just click away. They're not interested in hearing any of it. And so now, when these guys come out and they say, oh, we'll testify, but they never do, what does that do? That muddies the water. It allows right-wing pundits to come out and say, oh, so you debunked. The Secret Service says they don't agree. Are they going to watch to follow it up? Are going to sit there and pay attention to the hearings and be like, oh, hey, it looks like they didn't testify. Gee, I guess they look kind of bad. No. It's muddying the water because these people don't care about facts. They already have, in their mind, this idea that this is a partisan witch hunt only to come out and take down Donald Trump. Not to actually get to the truth. Not to actually see who's responsible. Because again, they don't care. I mean, ask any of the right-wingers who troll this show I mean, you don't even have to ask them. They'll tell you right out in the open. Nobody cares about January 6th. No, we don't care. We don't care at all. Nobody cares about this. Actually, the majority of the country does care. According to recent polling, I think it was 3/4 of the country or 2/3. A clear majority said that they want Trump to face consequences for what they've done, for what he did on January 6th, for trying to overturn the election illegally. So, but again, this gives Trump and his allies just another way to discount the hearings. Look, the right wing doesn't need facts. All they need is this narrative. They need to inject this fog of uncertainty, and they need to play to their own biases instead of playing to the truth, because they don't care about the truth. And if it comes out to be that Hutchinson is lying, which is a possibility, certainly, wouldn't that be far more damaging to herself than the committee, whom she would be ultimately shown to have lied to? And look, this committee has been running a very tight hearing. They've had plenty of evidence. They've had testimony from conservatives, right-wingers, former members of Trump's administration to back them up. I know who I believe. All right, speaking of belief, following bombshell testimony from former Mark Meadows assistant Cassidy Hutchinson against former President Donald Trump, many in Trump world lashed out, enraged, calling her a liar, grifter, a traitor, etc. Now, I think that she was just doing the bare minimum of what she has to do, coming out and actually telling the truth. So now, what she is seeing, what she has overheard. Okay. However, Trump's former White House chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, is not with Trump world and is actually saying, I believe Hutchinson. A very rare showing of something good from Mulvaney. I never thought I'd say that. Ms. Hutchinson, who was a principal assistant to ex-White House chief of staff Mark Meadows from mid-2020 to the end of Trump's term in January 2021, told the select committee that Mr. Trump and his top aides were aware of police reports indicating that attendees at the rally that he held just prior to the January 6th attack were packing weapons, including Glock semi-automatic pistols and AR-15 style rifles, but no one cared, especially Donald Trump, saying, no, let my people through. Let my people in. It's according to the testimony. There was also testimony of witness tampering, and all sorts of very, very damning things. She also said that Mr. Trump demanded Secret Service agents take down magnetometers erected for his own protection so that the armed rallygoers could be closer to the stage from which he was to speak before marching to the Capitol, where he allegedly wanted to go with. Mulvaney took to Twitter during these hearings to back up Ms. Hutchinson. Wow. Roughly 40 minutes in the hearing, Mulvaney was now a paid political analyst for CBS News, so disclosure on that one, tweeted that he had realized why the panel had called the hearing on such short notice, even while Congress was on its annual Independence Day recess, because we know, of course, that they love their recess, don't they? Heck, I love recess. Recess for all. Except for them, except for Congress. They already taken up vacation, but anyway. Here's what Mulvaney said. He said, if the president knew the protesters had weapons and still encouraged them to go to the Capitol, that is a serious problem. Yes. Yes, it is. And added, things just got a lot more interesting. He also wrote, shortly before he observed that Mr. Meadows was afraid to tell the president something that he didn't want to hear. So, look, that is something I've heard a lot. You don't know, you don't want to tell the president something that he is not going to like. Something is going to make him angry. Like, if you know it's going to make him mad, it's going to inflame him because he's got a temper, because he is a baby. A lot of people just don't want to have that. They don't want to deal with that problem. They had to bring in the music man to soothe him. Or distract him, or do something. Now, Ms. Hutchinson also told the committee that Special Agent in Charge Robert Engel, then the head of Mr. Trump's Secret Service detail, and then Deputy Chief of Staff, Tony Ornato, had told her that Mr. Trump had a physical altercation with Mr. Engel and a Secret Service driver after being told he could not join his supporters at the Capitol. After listening to her account, Mr. Mulvaney observed that Mr. Ornato, Mr. Engel, and Mr. Meadows would all be testifying before the committee wraps up its work, though all but Mr. Meadows have already appeared for depositions with the panel. So now that's really interesting because Meadows can be really important to get his perspective. Or maybe not. I mean, it could just end up being like Michael Flynn and him just pleading the fifth the whole time. We'd have to see. Now, sources close to the Secret Service have disputed the altercation. Ms. Hutchinson said she was told ever taking place. Again, she was told this by Ornato. And so who knows, Ornato could have been lying to her, or could have been lying to the committee in his deposition. We don't know. Numerous right-wing figures also began calling her a liar on various social media sites, but Mulvaney saying, no, this is explosive stuff. Quote, if Cassidy is making this up, they will need to say that, meaning the committee. If she isn't, they will have to corroborate. Oh, I'm sorry, not the committee, meaning Engel and Ornato. But if she isn't, they will have to corroborate. He said, adding, I know her. I don't think she is lying. Hey, I know who she is. I've worked with her, and I've worked with Trump. I know who these people are, and I believe her. That's really important. Now, Mulvaney also returned to Twitter to make an observation about the closing statement made by Liz Cheney. Now, Liz Cheney is a loathsome human being, but she's been running this committee very, very well, and has been very aggressive. And so, doing her job, she's actually been doing a good job at doing her job. That's the most praise you're going to get out of me for Liz Cheney, who is, again, otherwise a terrible human being. That's it. She's what is it? Thinking of the word, competent at her job. She's very competent. Something that we can't say about a lot of other, officials. Moving on. Cheney said the panel had received evidence of communications with witnesses from people in Mr. Trump's orbit that could amount to witness tampering or obstruction of justice. Those things are very, very important as well. Again, witness tampering, obstruction of justice, those are crimes. Her former colleague called her closing stunning and observed that the maxim, always the cover-up, never the crime, applies to Mr. Trump's situation. Quote, things went very badly for the former president today. My guess is that it will get worse from here. And then later called Tuesday proceeding a, quote, stunning 2 hours and summarized the presentation of the evidence. Quote, Trump knew the protesters had guns. He assaulted his own security team. There may be a line from Proud Boys to the White House, also important. Top aides asked for pardons, also really important. The commission thinks that they have evidence of witness tampering. This is a very, very bad day for Trump. And again, this isn't somebody who is a left-winger, okay? This isn't Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying this. This is Mick Mulvaney, somebody who worked in the administration. Say what you will about him, and I have, trust me, I do not have a high opinion of Mick Mulvaney. But he was there. He was in the White House. He worked with them both. Knew Donald Trump. And, of course, everything that has come out from his co-workers seems to indicate, the kind of person that he really is. Violent, unhinged, loud, just not a good person, not mentally, not a very stable genius. We'll say that, not a very stable genius. He knew them and said, yeah, but that's basically what we've heard. I believe it. Because that seems like absolutely something that he would do. Now, Mulvaney might be wrong, though, about one thing. It might not actually get worse for Trump at all. And why do I say that? Well, it's because the committee, their job is to, while their job is to lay out the facts, while their job is to lay out a case, they can't actually indict the former president. They don't have any legal justification, or not justification, sorry. They don't have any legal authority to do so. That legal authority lies with the Department of Justice. It lies with Merrick Garland. And so, at the end of the day, Merrick Garland has to be compelled to do something. And the jury's out on whether or not Merrick Garland is going to do something. Now, again, we don't know. To be fair, the committee has not finished. They're going to come back after their break and do several more hearings. So there is more evidence that is yet to be laid out. So, with all due fairness, perhaps Merrick Garland is waiting for all of that to come through before announcing indictments. That's being incredibly fair towards Garland, who right now has been a big disappointment. But again, we will have to see. I don't know what's on Merrick Garland's mind, but I hope, based on the evidence that we've seen so far, feels like a slam dunk to me. And if this is not enough evidence right now, I mean, it really shows you that he might not be serious about going after Trump the way that he should. And again, not just to go after Trump, just to go after Trump, but all this evidence that we've seen so far indicates that he absolutely knew and wanted this coup to succeed, to keep him in power. If Merrick Garland doesn't have enough evidence of that to even start considering indictments, especially towards Donald Trump and others in the administration, or formerly in the administration, then I'm very, very concerned about democracy, because if nobody is punished for this, then what's to prevent them from doing this or trying this again and succeeding? This may be a turning point for American democracy. It's either a turning point in the defense of democracy or the end. So yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I got today. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Really, really appreciate it. All right, so let's go through. Let's read some super chats. Dr. Scoot says, "Hey, you know what else is isn't in the Constitution? Tax cuts for the rich and tax exemptions for religious organizations. Let's remove those next. I agree. That you're right. That is not in the Constitution. Just get rid of those things. Mighty Narcissus, thanks for the show. Sent you a Twitter message, but no rush. Yes, I'll definitely get to it. Don't worry. And by the way, thank you for being a moderator. Really, that's kind of like the thing that I need the most right now is to have someone moderate this chat and keep this a safe, good, friendly place for people to have conversations. By the way, there is breaking news. Justice Stephen Breyer has submitted his resignation from the Supreme Court, allowing Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson to fill that vacancy. So wonderful. Ketanji Brown Jackson, hell yeah. Bring her in. Bring her in. I know it won't make like a huge difference in the court, but in the makeup of the court, but the only thing that's gonna really change the makeup of the court is if Joe Biden decides to expand it. So, All right, a couple more must go. Or we can just add some. Appoint Ely Mistel to the SCOTUS. He'll burn the bitch down. Yeah, Ely is he's fiery. He is. She's our new and best SC, Corporal Shill. Yay. Soyborn, did you think that in this administration that anyone who doesn't have some pro-corporate views is going to make it on the Supreme Court? And honestly, she's not nearly as bad as like a Neil Gorsuch on corporate interests. So, obviously you have your... Yes, we have our wants. Of course we want somebody who's going to always side with labor on our side. But in this administration, you would have to get a more progressive Congress, a progressive president, in order to get a progressive SCOTUS. I don't think she sucks ass. I think that there's issues, of course, that she'll, make a ruling that is not in favor of workers. And, of course, I'll criticize that ruling. But I think generally she's more progressive on a lot of issues than some of the other justices. Probably more progressive than Breyer. What am I thinking of? Stranger Things now? Anyway. So, like I said, thank you all for joining me. We're going to raid here into... we'll do a Surfs raid today. Should be fun. Let's see. As far as everyone else, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. The YouTube algorithm is crushing us. So if you haven't already, very important that you go through and watch all the videos, because the way that it works is if, I put out about roughly 5 videos a day. If you watch 4, it only serves up 4. If you watch 3, it only serves up 3. If you watch 2, you get it, right? And so it just doesn't get out to people anymore, because that algorithm basically punishes people if you're not an authoritative news source. So help us out. Watch the clips, share the clips. Very important that you do so. Thank you so much. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great evening. Be back with more stories later.
I will eat your ass. Oh no!
I'm a fatty fat fatso. I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Disappointed!
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever. Testicle tanning.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.